Timestamps will be in the description box if you want to skip around the video. Hi and welcome back to my channel, Modern Modiste. In today's video I'm going to show you how I made this mesh 3D floral blouse. I'm wearing the romper I made in my last DIY video. It's so wrinkled in that video. I feel like you did not get to see the full potential and how cute it actually is. The wrinkles were a bit distracting, so I decided I'd model it a little bit today in this video just so you can see how it looks without all those wrinkles. Okay, so it's wrinkled. Which is funny because when I put it on 10 minutes ago, it was not wrinkled. It got wrinkled just from me sitting here. This material is just very lightweight and it gets wrinkled very easily, and I don't mind, but I just wanted to show you it not wrinkled. It's a little bit better, so you can kind of see it with a little bit less wrinkles. So yeah, if you like the way the romper looks, go watch my last tutorial so you can make yourself one. So my fabric's folded in half and the pattern is lined up against the fold. I marked a V neckline because I thought I would like a V neckline on this blouse, which as you can see in the intro, I decided that a U neckline would look better. But yeah, I marked out this V neck. Then I traced this pattern onto the fabric for the backs, and I just added 1 inch hem allowance to the inner edges, as you can see here. I cut 2 of those out. For the sleeves, I just used my regular sleeve pattern. I just extended the sides so that was straight. So that gives me about 3 inches on each side extra. So now to attach the front to the backs, I'm just going to line them up right sides facing, and I'm going to sew along the shoulders. Now this material does not fray, so I do not need to finish the edges, but I like for the edges, the raw edges, to look neat and clean, so I'm just going to do a zigzag stitch to keep them neat and together. So I'm attaching the sleeve the same way I always do. I'm just opening my shirt. I'm going to take my sleeve, fold it in half just so I can find the center, align the right side of my sleeve with the right side of my shirt, shoulder lined up with the center of the sleeve. I'll pin it, and then I'm going to pin the rest of the sleeve's curve to my armhole. Once my sleeve was fully pinned on, I sewed it onto the blouse. Okay, so for the rest of this project, I'm going to finish every raw edge with a zigzag stitch. So for the elastic part of the sleeve, I measured a piece of elastic around my wrist. It looks very loose fit right here where I'm showing it, but it's actually snug. I was just showing that I did it around my wrist, but I measured it to fit snug around my wrist, and I took that and added seam allowance and cut 2 of those. Then I pinned my elastic to one side. I measured from the armpit down to where I pinned the elastic and made sure that the measurement was the same on the other side where I pinned the elastic. To attach the elastic to my sleeve, I'm going to stretch the elastic to the length of the sleeve across, and I'm going to zigzag stitch it on. So I did that for this sleeve, and I repeated with the other sleeve. And then I closed the sides by pinning at the armpit seams and lining up the elastics on each side and pinning, and just pinning down the rest of the side. I sewed the sides closed by sewing from the armpits down the sides, and then again back from the armpits down the sleeves. Then I hemmed the back 2 inner edges with a double fold hem. So I'm trimming off the flowers that are right on this hemline because I don't want that bulk in my hem. For the bottom gathered part of the blouse, I cut my fabric in 3 strips, but you can cut yours in 2. I pinned and sewed these strips together, right sides facing. Then I'm going to sew these ends together to create a full circle. I set my stitch length to the longest length my machine would allow, and I sewed a straight stitch along the top edge. I backstitched at the beginning of the stitch, but not at the end, leaving enough thread on the end to pull to gather the fabric. So I'm going to be gathering this part. Then I went and tacked the back bottom edge of my top together. So the 2 back sides that were hemmed, I tacked them together at the bottom. I gathered my fabric by pulling the upper thread while simultaneously pulling the fabric. After I evenly gathered the fabric, I pinned it to the top, right sides facing, lining up the side seams, the back seam, and the center front. Then I pinned the rest of the edge to the top. I sewed the 2 together with a zigzag stitch and stretched the fabric as I sewed to keep the stretch of the fabric. So if you do not have a stretchy fabric and you're working with a very stiff fabric, you want to make sure you can get it over your shoulders. You may still be able to because so much of the back is left open with the tie strings, but to be safe, you could, instead of attach in the back here, you could hem each end and just put another tie right here, and then you won't have to worry about it ripping as you pull it over your shoulders. Then I went and tacked the back again to hide the seam. This is when I decided I didn't want the V neckline, so I changed it to a U neckline. I hemmed the bottom of the blouse and the sleeves with a double fold hem. I used thin bias tape to finish the neckline. I sewed the bias tape to the wrong side of the neckline, and I left a couple inches hanging over on each side for the drawstrings, the tie strings, not the drawstrings. So on each side of the neckline, I left about 13 to 14 inches of bias tape because that's going to be the tie in the back. Make sure you leave that. Make sure that when you sew your bias tape onto the neckline, you are not stretching the fabric if you have a stretchy fabric, or else you will have a very wavy neckline. To avoid that, you can do a straight stitch across the neckline before attaching the bias tape. You can lower your stitch length so that the stitch is a little tighter and sew around the neckline before you attach your bias tape. That'll help to keep your neckline from stretching. Then I folded in the short edges of the bias tape, folded the bias tape to the front of the blouse, and I sewed it into place. So I tried it on. I thought I was going to be finished after adding the bias tape, but I decided that the back was gapping a little more than I liked it to, so I decided to add another tie string. I just took the bias tape and sewed the fold, making sure to fold under one of the short edges, and then I just marked on my material, because it's not easy to pin that very thin bias tape, I marked where I wanted my strings to go, sewed them on, and that completes this project. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned for my next video. Go and subscribe to my blog if you want to, where I post tips and written tutorial of the video tutorials here on my YouTube. So over there on my blog, I wrote a post about the 15 tools every sewer needs. So go check it out and see what's on that list if you have every tool that's important. And let me know if you think some of those tools are not important, or if I forgot some tools. Thank you for watching. Go follow me on Instagram if you want, at modernmodiste. Yeah, I'll catch you in my next video. Bye!